Gentlemen, I'm going to review the Les Eaux Primordiales Discovery Set. Les Eaux Primordiales is a French niche fragrance brand that has recently gotten a lot of attention because of their variety of fragrances. There are some light florals, there are some heavy ambers, and everything in between for everyone. And in this video, I'm going to have a look at these 9 fragrances that are in this Discovery Set, talk a little bit about all of them, and in the end, give you gentlemen an immense improvement rating of all 9 of these fragrances in this Discovery Set from Les Eaux Primordiales. Let's not waste any more time and let's begin. When opening up the sample set, we're going to throw out this sleeve right here because we don't need that, and then you can open up the sample set where you read it with a small booklet where you can read a little bit about the brand, its heritage, and a little bit about the founder as well. And you can also read through everything there is to say about the different scents. And to my surprise, we got a very good start with the first fragrance being Mécanique Intuitive. So let's apply Mécanique Intuitive on the tester strip and let's talk about the scent. This is a sweet, cozy, relatively strong, and very well made vanilla forward fragrance. This has osmanthus to give this fragrance some more texture, to give it a little bit more fluff and airiness combined with the very heavy vanilla. And there's also this sweet tobacco and rum that isn't very sharp or prominent, but you can definitely detect it, that gives the fragrance this roundness and feeling of completion. I said that this fragrance is a spectacular start to the Discovery Set because this fragrance is so good. It's very addictive, relatively strong, and in my experience compliment pulling and very pleasant to wear. Overall, this is a very pleasant fragrance, and if you like vanilla, you're definitely going to enjoy this. I'm very sure of that. On my skin, Mécanique Intuitive lasted 10 to 12 hours with moderate projection that had a very good scent bubble and sillage for a few hours, which then dried to a mild skin scent that was still detectable here and there. Even though this fragrance is the first one from the sample set, it was one of my favorites, and because of all of these qualities and good longevity and projection that this fragrance has, I've given Les Eaux Primordiales Mécanique Intuitive a 9.2 out of 10 minutes improvement rating. I really like this one. The next fragrance here is going to be Couleur Primaire, so let's apply it and let's talk about it. This fragrance goes into the category of very clean, linen-like laundry scents that is very clean, inoffensive, and fresh. There's ozonic notes, powdery notes, and white musk in this fragrance. So it's a very simple fragrance and there's nothing that really sticks out. It's a very well blended and well made fragrance that is very inoffensive and very pleasant to wear. If you like fragrances like Dior New Look and something of that nature, this one is definitely a good one. If you don't want anything too strong either, then this one is also great for that because it isn't very projecting or headache inducing at all. On my skin, Couleur Primaire lasted 12 plus hours, so it's a very long lasting, fresh laundry like scent, but the projection was mild throughout the entire lifetime of this fragrance. I would have loved for the projection to be much more beastly than this was, but if you want a fragrance of this nature that isn't offensive at all and isn't very projecting, then this one is a very good shout. I have given Les Eaux Primordiales Couleur Primaire an 8.8 out of 10 minutes improvement rating. Very pleasant, very comfortable, clean laundry linen type of scent, and definitely a very well made one. The next fragrance here is going to be from the Supercritique line of fragrance from LEP, and that is going to be Rose Supercritique. Let's apply it here and talk about the scent profile. In my opinion, this leans a little bit more feminine, but definitely still unisex. This is a very clean, dewy rose fragrance with a very minor citrusy opening, but definitely more floral forward, and there's some slight sweetness in the base as well, but mostly it's going to be a very floral dominant and just a little bit green fragrance. Inoffensive, clean, floral, slightly rosy, and maybe a little bit violet-like. That is very easy to pull off. Slightly more feminine leaning, but definitely unisex. And in my opinion, this fragrance reminds me a lot of Dior Rose Kabuki. On my skin, Rose Supercritique lasted 10 to 12 hours with moderate projection, with a decent scent bubble and somewhat of a fine sillage that quickly dries to being a mild skin scent. So this fragrance is long lasting, has decent projection, projection. So I've given Les Eaux Primordiales Rose Supercritique an 8.1 out of 10 minutes improvement rating. Definitely a fine fragrance, but in my opinion nothing special. Not for everyone, but definitely a very simple dewy rose fragrance. Next up from the Supercritique line is going to be Magnolia Supercritique. In my opinion, this is a little bit more fun of a fragrance compared to the previous one from this line, and that is because this has magnolia, ylang ylang, some citruses and orange blossom, which gives this fragrance a floral but mostly a yellow floral scent profile with a bright zingy opening, which in my experience was also the most compliment pulling one from the Supercritique line from LEP. Even though it's a little bit more fun, it definitely disappoints the performance area, but mostly this is going to be very inoffensive, fresh, clean, yellow floral dominant fragrance with somewhat of a character because of the magnolia, which makes it slightly more interesting. But overall, I think this scent profile is a little bit boring and not really worth the money in my opinion if you would pick up a full bottle of this fragrance. Talking about performance, this fragrance on me lasted 6 to 8 hours, with the scent being a mild skin scent throughout the lifetime of this fragrance. Even though I could see myself wearing this fragrance, it wouldn't be one that I would reach for often. I've given this fragrance a 6.9 out of 10 minutes improvement rating. Definitely one for the magnolia lovers, but overall I think it's a slightly boring fragrance if I have to be very honest. Well made, but nothing special. And the final fragrance from the Supercritique line from this discovery set is going to be Mimosa Supercritique. So let's apply it and let's talk about it right here. So in my opinion, this is a little bit similar to the previous fragrance Magnolia Supercritique, but this definitely has a little bit more character because of the mimosa flower here being a yellow floral as well. But in my experience in perfumery, this also provides some texture, specifically a powdery texture. So this is going to be a powdery yellow floral fragrance. Very simple fragrance, also very easy to wear, slightly feminine leaning, but definitely unisex and very inoffensive, clean. Again, in my opinion, nothing special, nothing spectacular, but again, this fragrance is very high quality. It smells very complete, very well rounded and very well structured. But just as the previous fragrance, performance wise, this was lacking in my opinion, with longevity of Mimosa Supercritique on my skin being 6 to 8 hours as well, with the projection being a mild skin scent throughout the lifetime of this fragrance. Also, unfortunately, this is in my opinion slightly boring and not really something that I would buy a full bottle of, but I think it's just a tiny fracture better than the previous fragrance. So I've given Les Eaux Primordiales Mimosa Supercritique a 7 out of 10 minutes improvement rating. If you like fragrances that feature mimosa, I think you should at least give this one a sniff, but the overall scent profile is nothing spectacular in my opinion. Now moving over to the Superfluide line of fragrances, and spoiler alert, this one was my favorite from the entire discovery set, and that is Oud Superfluide. Let's give it a sniff. So in my opinion, this fragrance is very reminiscent of Maison Francis Courtejan Baccarat Rouge 540 and Initio Oud for Greatness, because this has this almost cotton candy like saffron airiness here that is reminiscent from the BR 540 DNA, and there's also this spicy woody scent profile that is very prominent throughout the lifetime of this fragrance. In my experience, this was very linear but very reminiscent of these fragrance DNAs that I mentioned previously, and I think this is an amazing fragrance because it is very captivating, it's very compliment pulling, it's very easy to wear, and it's also versatile as well. And it's something that you might find familiar if you like fragrances like BR 540 or Oud for Greatness. This is slightly sweet, slightly spicy and leathery, a little woody and definitely airy. There's nothing for me to really say other than this being very reminiscent of the two previously named fragrances, which there's nothing wrong with because I think this fragrance was a pleasure to wear. Also, a criteria that this fragrance didn't disappoint in was definitely the performance. On my skin, Les Eaux Primordiales Oud Superfluide lasted 12 plus hours, which I really enjoyed this for, and the projection was around an arm's length for around 2 hours or so, with a very nice scent bubble and very good sillage, which this DNA is also well known for, which then drives to being a mild but still noticeable skin scent. And I have given Les Eaux Primordiales Oud Superfluide a 9.3 out of 10 men's improvement rating. I can't wait to empty the sample here. Next up is going to be Saffron Superfluide, so let's apply it on the strip and let's talk about the scent profile. Definitely a lot of saffron. It gives this fragrance a very leather dominant scent profile, with it being a little herbal but mostly very smoky as well, with the very spicy leathery touches. Like the other fragrances, this smells of very high quality. There's been some thought going into creating this scent. It smells very complete and there's nothing that really sticks out, but you can definitely pick up on the saffron spiciness that gives you this reminiscent leather feel, and there's also a little bit of depth coming from some incensey smokiness as well. There's also definitely this dry earthiness possibly coming from the raspberry accord that's also listed as the note, but you definitely get some slightly dry earthy woody nuances as well. On my skin, Saffron Superfluide lasted 7 to 9 hours with a moderate projection that quickly dried off to being a mild skin scent. Definitely a decent fragrance, but not one I would pick up a full bottle of. But if you want to get into fragrances that are more dominant in saffron and or leather, I definitely think you should at least give this one a try. I have given Les Eaux Primordiales Saffron Superfluide a 7 out of 10 men's improvement rating. Definitely a nice scent for sure. Entering top 3 territory for me is going to be Ambre Superfluide. So let's apply it and let's talk about it. This fragrance is very warm, sweet and spicy, with a little balsamic creamy touches there as well. This fragrance reminds me of a combination of Parfum de Marly, Wajan and by Kilian Smoking Hot, but it misses the Shisha Accord from Smoking Hot. I think this was a pleasure to wear. It's very warm, inviting, soothing fragrance. The cinnamony honey DNA here is also one of the reasons why I really enjoyed it. Familiar, soothing and comfortable. On my skin, Ambre Superfluide lasted 10 to 12 hours, with projection being moderate and after an hour or so dried to being a mild skin scent. I've given Les Eaux Primordiales Ambre Superfluide a 9 out of 10 men's improvement rating. One that I definitely think will be a compliment magnet. I definitely can see this being very good for fall and winter date nights and possibly going out with some friends. Last and unfortunately also my least favorite from this discovery set is going to be the last one from the Superfluide line. That is going to be Santal Superfluide. So this was definitely a disappointment, not because of the scent profile, because I think this is somewhat comfortable and easy to pull off, but this was such a weak fragrance on my skin. Just to quickly mention it, on my skin, Santal Superfluide lasted 5 to 6 hours, with this fragrance being a mild skin scent 4 to 6 hours that I got as a maximum. This has a plum accord at the top, but I really do not pick up on it. This is a very base heavy fragrance, and I think that because I don't pick up on anything else than the base notes that are listed, this is mostly a very woody, dry, spicy, leathery fragrance that really doesn't do anything for me. Just on the strip alone, I'm having difficulties picking up what's there, because this is, in my experience, very weak. Yeah, very boring sandal with some slight spicy, leathery, dry nuances. I think it's a very easy to wear woody fragrance that is very inoffensive and won't really cross any boundaries. Because of these qualities, this is going to get a 6.9 out of 10 men's improvement rating as well. In my experience, this was very weak and very disappointing, hence why this is the joint lowest rated fragrance from this discovery set in my opinion. So my final thoughts and opinions about Les Eaux Primordiales is going to be a slightly fun opinion. I think Les Eaux Primordiales is a boring fragrance house with good fragrances. What does that mean? Well, I think their fragrances are executed very well. Scent profiles though are very uninspiring, and some that you might have smelled before from other brands in other fragrances. So even though though the quality in these fragrances was detectable and in my opinion fairly high, I think there are a lot of fragrances in this discovery set that might have scent profiles that you won't find very interesting, unique, and possibly bottle worthy in my opinion. So these were my opinions. What do you think? Comment down below what you think of the brand, of the fragrances, if you've tried them, which one you would find most interesting, and your general thoughts and opinions about the discovery set here and what you think of the brand. Gentlemen, this was my review of the Les Eaux Primordiales discovery set. What do you think? If you enjoyed this video, then smash the like button and subscribe to the Men's Improvement YouTube channel for more videos about fragrances, grooming, style, fashion, skincare, fitness, watches, everything that will make you, gentlemen, the best possible versions of yourselves. The last few things I want to ask you, gentlemen, is to smile more because it's free, and I want you to watch these two videos right here. This one here below is going to be my latest upload, whereas this one up here is going to be video that the YouTube algorithm thinks you will enjoy.